Streaming on clickorlando.com, you're watching News 6 at 10.
Where do they come from? How do they find them? How did they find them here?
Now on News 6 at 10, questions understandably from nervous neighbors what we know about stolen military explosives found inside a home in the Villages. Yet another brush fire breaks out tonight. That marks fires burning today in at least 4 local counties. We're asking, where's the rain relief? This is a story that has captured hearts and minds. A manatee stuck in a storm drain. It took ripping up a road to make that rescue. Ahead at 10, how the sea cow is doing.
I've never seen anything quite like this. The bulldozer dumps the dirt, and then another construction vehicle lays the culvert.
I don't believe it's petty. I actually think it's pretty clever.
That mall manager swears he's not trying to be a bad neighbor. He says he's just making a point why he's blocking 2 entrances to the gas station next door. But we start tonight with breaking developments, large developments in the kidnapping of the mother of NBC News anchor Savannah Guthrie. Good evening to you. I'm Eric Von Anken. So glad you're with us tonight. CNN just confirmed in the past 15 minutes or so that a person of interest is now in custody in connection with the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. There's not a lot of information available at this point, only that someone has been detained. We're told the SWAT team is executing a search warrant, presumably at the house or the location of this person south of Tucson, is what we're hearing. So again, at this point, a person of interest has been detained. No arrest, no other information, no update on Nancy Guthrie herself, just that a person is being detained. As soon as we find out more, we'll bring it to you during this newscast. Our other top story now at 10, also developing. Scary moments in the Villages today after the sheriff's office had to call in the bomb squad and actually found explosives inside a home here. Tonight, we've learned that the FBI is involved because they believe the explosives were stolen from the military. There have been no arrests, so there are many unanswered questions about what unfolded on Yucatan Lane in the Sumter County portion of the Villages. News 6's Troy Campbell knocked on the front door of that home and is talking to neighbors.
It's a much quieter scene now outside of the home here on Yucatan Way than it was earlier on Tuesday. We now know that the FBI is investigating. We spoke to several neighbors here who say they're just thankful everyone is safe.
A notification went off on my Nextdoor app this morning saying that there was explosives in the area.
It answered questions neighbors had since seeing law enforcement showing up in growing numbers along Yucatan Way.
My neighbor called me and says, "Have you heard what's going on?" I says, "No."
Carl Hogan says he had left his house Tuesday morning, but his neighbor filled him in.
And he says, "Oh, there's all kind of action going on around here and helicopters going around and police cars and everything else."
The Sumter County Sheriff's Office says it was called out to the home along the 1500 block just after 11, after someone discovered possible explosives. Investigators evacuated several homes as a precaution and blocked off the area. Members of the Lake County Bomb Squad could be seen at the home for hours. Law enforcement eventually identified several explosive devices. They say, quote, were confirmed stolen from the military inside the home.
This one was real. Kind of scary, especially being military.
Since law enforcement has not announced any arrests, we knocked on the front door of the home Tuesday night. There did appear to be people inside, but no one answered the door. Does it make you question how can you steal explosive devices from the military in the first place?
Absolutely. Where do they come from? How do they find them? How did they find them here?
Hoagland says while the FBI remains tight-lipped, he's left wondering how the explosives got so close to his home. So again, a lot of unanswered questions still remain. Sumter County and the FBI say their investigation is ongoing. In the Villages, Troy Campbell, News 6.
Also breaking now at 10, an absolute tragedy for a family in Marion County. A 2-year-old was run over and killed in that child's own driveway. So this happened on the 21st Place Road in the Silver Springs area. Troopers tell us a woman was driving an Acura, backing up, and just did not see the child. The little boy died at the hospital. The driver is not facing any charges. Also new tonight, Volusia County is the latest front for crews battling brush fires. Let's give you a look at the pictures posted on Facebook by the Volusia County Firefighters Association of this latest fire. This is burning more than 60 acres. While firefighters are getting a handle on it, they say that State Road 17 will now be shut down indefinitely due to smoke from this fire in the area. Several local fire agencies teamed up tonight. Here's a look at that fire from the Forestry Service's active wildfire page. Deep Creek Road is just a little east of Barbersville. And a wider look at the map shows 5 active fires, 1 in Sumter County, 3 in Marion, and just outside of our area, there is 1 burning in Polk County. Lake County is no longer on that map since fire evacuation orders have been lifted for our neighbors near Eustis tonight. Lake County deputies say at one point the fast-moving brush fire today was threatening homes in the St. John's Lane area. This broke out about noon and grew to about 10 acres before it was contained. News 6's Tylisa Hampton went there to check on neighbors. They told her the flames got a little too close for comfort.
We're not prepared to cover 5 acres with hoses, and it got within maybe 30 feet of my barn. I grabbed my horses and moved them out front to try to get them away from everything. Our fences have been taken down, of course, so that the firefighters could get back through. They've been going back and forth through the big field. But I heard there's a lot of damage. Thank God not one structure on my property has been burned.
Yeah, no homes burned and no people were hurt, although we heard one of the horses was injured slightly. This time of year typically kicks off the worst of our brush fire season, although this one is coming on strong. Yeah. And this one is coming on early, but we need rain relief.
We do.
Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is tracking our best chance.
And I think there's some, it may come at the cost at part of the Daytona 500. There's still some timing issues we're ironing out. It might be late Sunday night or in the wee morning hours of Monday. We'll take the wee morning hours of Monday so we can get the race in and then get help for the drought situation. I still don't think it's too much rain at this point, but these numbers need to come down again. We're way ahead of schedule in some of these numbers across most of our Central Florida counties. 500 kind of the magic number where burn bans start being enacted. So you see we are way over that in Sumter and Marion County. Of course, we're closing in Flagler where we do have a burn ban in play. High pressure is still hanging out close by. That is going to keep us dry over the next couple of days. At least we do have that southerly component. So it is moistening up our atmosphere just a little bit. Still, the vegetation, as we all know, is still critically dry out there, and it's not going to be until we get into Sunday that those rain chances start to go up. We're going to talk much more about that part of your forecast coming up at about 10:19, Eric.
Talk to you then, Jonathan. Thank you. Tonight, a mall is escalating a feud with the gas station next door, putting up literal roadblocks between the properties, and that could cut off many of the station's customers. Your Titusville community correspondent, James Sparvero, wanted to know what's going on, so he asked the mall manager as he was watching those barricades rise up in person.
A mall is blocking an entrance between the mall and a gas station because the general manager of the mall says the gas station is leaking and Cumberland Farms won't do anything to fix it.
For 4 years, we have been trying to get them to clean up their leaks and spills that have been going on for decades. We figured finally we're going to get their attention by blocking 2 of their entrances to our property.
I've never seen anything quite like this. The bulldozer dumps the dirt, and then another construction vehicle lays the culvert, and private security is actually here watching it all because GM Mark Frank isn't allowed to dump anything on their side of this red line. That would be on the Cumberland's property. If any critics were to say what you're doing is pretty petty, how would you respond?
Well, petty is doing nothing. We're doing something. I don't believe it's petty. I actually think it's pretty clever.
Mark told me contamination from the leaks is part of the reason why constructing the new mall here has been put on hold. 4 years ago, I reported when the city approved the modern shopping development with restaurants, apartments, and a living facility for seniors. Now Mark's hoping the city hears his complaints.
I mean, we have a lot of money riding on getting this mall complete.
Employees at Cumberland Farms didn't want to be a part of my story. But if I hear back from their corporate office in response to the leaks and what the mall's doing, I'll add that to clickorlando.com. In Brevard County, I'm your Titusville community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
Tonight, a local street is totally patched up less than 24 hours after dramatic underground rescue. We showed you crews ripped up the street here so they could reach the manatee that you see in this sling. That's the manatee now out of the sling. Manatee was stuck in a storm drain. Tonight, the manatee is getting the care it needs at SeaWorld. Meantime, News 6's Alex Cook is in Melbourne Beach learning more about how this happened.
It all looks pretty normal out here now. You can barely tell that just a few hours ago, there was a manatee-sized hole here in the road ripped out in the concrete. Now, Melbourne Beach police officer told us that a survey team was checking out the storm drain, lifted up this manhole cover, looked in, and saw that manatee tail flapping around. So they called Florida Fish and Wildlife, and the rescue operation was on.
News 6 was on scene as Melbourne Beach Fire Rescue pulled the 400-pound, 7-foot-long manatee from the storm drain. They dug a hole in the road, making that hole to pull him out. And he won a free trip to SeaWorld, where the manatee experts are taking a good look at him today.
We're cautiously optimistic that he's going to be making good strides here in our rehab center.
Mallory McCormick at SeaWorld says he's scuffed up and lost a lot of weight from being trapped in that storm drain. They've got him in a medical pool, getting used to deeper water, and most importantly, giving him plenty of food.
Incredible story. That is awesome that he was able to be spotted, that they called the FWC hotline, that FWC was on site to be able to help with the rescue, and that we were on call to be able to have the intake here last night and be able to watch, even just from last night to this morning, the progress that he's made.
That journey started on the west side of Melbourne Beach at the Indian River. The manatee likely entered the storm drain here.
Now I'm here on beautiful Melbourne Beach, just a few blocks east of where that manatee was found. You can see the ocean behind me. The manatee was facing some cold waters, so entered that storm drain trying to get warm and got stuck in the middle.
Today, the city's work crews filled that hole and reopened the road.
Now, the experts at SeaWorld say they're not sure exactly how long it's going to take to treat the manatee. It depends on how much he eats to get back up to his healthy weight before they put him back into the wild. But in the meantime, his medical pool at SeaWorld is way more spacious than this storm drain he was stuck in for so long. In Melbourne Beach, Alex Cook, News 6.
A slow-moving milestone tonight for one of SpaceX's biggest rivals. New in minutes, how ULA hopes a crawl to the Cape will mark the start of a much faster pace of rocket launches.
He is the only astronaut from Orlando, period.
Orlando's only astronaut is also the one who made it to the moon twice, walked on it once, and even commanded the first space shuttle mission. In minutes, Ginger Gadsden shows us how pieces of his legacy are now being shared with the public. But first, an otter called in to help investigate what happened to a local missing mom. Ahead at 10, the crucial role that animal is playing underwater in the search for answers. You're watching News 6 at 10, live on a Tuesday night, covering Bay Hill, Claremont, and all of Central Florida.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Central Florida Honda Dealers.
Now on News 6, a tiny otter is playing a crucial role in the more than 2-year-old search for a missing mom in Lake County. You're probably wondering, How? Well, first let's talk about the search. This is for Nicole Baldwin. It's a mom of 3 who was last seen at her Mount Dora home back in 2023. Police say that Baldwin left all of her things behind, including her phone, her purse, and her shoes. Last year, police announced they were treating her case as a homicide investigation. The Mount Dora Police Department now confirms to News 6 that the otter named Splash, here's his picture, is assisting in search efforts. They say he's trained to detect underwater scent by releasing air bubbles that carry that scent up to the surface. Well, that helps identify areas of interest for divers and investigators. We're working to figure out exactly where Splash has searched in relation to the Nicole Baldwin case. When we get an update, we'll let you know. As a reminder, there is a $10,000 reward for information that could lead to an arrest in this case. If you got a tip that you think could help, you could be eligible for that reward. The number is on your screen there for Crime Line, 1-800-423-TIPS.
Most people in Central Florida recognize the name John Young. That's because it's on a parkway. But it's actually the way producer Robert Brewer and I take into work every day. News 6 is located on John Young Parkway. But long before this road carried drivers across Orange County, John Young carried the United States into a brand new era of space exploration.
And the shuttle has cleared the tower.
John Young is an Orlando native. He is the only astronaut from Orlando, period.
Captain John Young wasn't just part of the space program. He helped define it.
John Young was Mr. Astronaut. He was the astronaut.
He is the only astronaut to fly in Gemini, Apollo, and Space Shuttle. He is one of the 3 men to go to the moon twice.
Off the ground, T-minus 10.
And if those credentials aren't enough, consider this. When NASA launched the Space Shuttle for the very first time without a test flight, they chose Young to command it.
America's first space shuttle.
The world watched on April 12, 1981, as the Orlando native led STS-1, a mission unlike anything ever attempted.
Never before, never since. It is a reusable spacecraft, so they had to have someone to fly it, and John Young was the man.
NASA trusted Young because of his experience and his reputation for precision and safety.
And that's a good picture of John coming down.
Like John Young's not going to wait for doctors.
Now, pieces of that legacy are being shared with the public in an upcoming auction.
These are the patches that he wore on his spacesuit on Apollo 10. These flew to the moon, flew back. He was the command module pilot. On the back, he wrote, "I certify that these 4 patches were on my Apollo 10 pressure suit when I went to the moon," and it's signed John Young.
In a space program built on courage, calculation, and risk, John Young stands apart.
There's only 24 men who have gone to the moon. There are only 12 men who have walked on the moon.
And only one from Orlando, a man whose legacy stretches from Gemini to Apollo to the Space Shuttle, and forever into space history. On John Young Parkway, Ginger Gadsden, News 6.
The American Space Museum that Ginger was at today was doing that auction online. It ends Saturday. We put a link if you're interested on clickorlando.com. New at 10 tonight, a milestone for a chief rival to SpaceX, aiming to step up its launch game in 2026. United Launch Alliance, or ULA, posted these photos tonight on X and Flickr. It shows the latest Vulcan rocket slowly rolling out to their launch pad at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. On board, a U.S. Space Force payload of 3 satellites aiming for low Earth orbit. Launch is currently set for overnight Thursday morning. This will be only the 4th flight for Vulcan, but ULA hopes to launch 18 to 22 times this year, split between Florida and California. Most of those missions using Vulcan. That's up from 6 total launches last year. As for SpaceX, the next crewed flight to the ISS has been pushed back by another day, at least. Crew 12 is now set for launch at 5:15 Friday morning from the Cape. This is the second time in days the launch has been pushed back due to concerns about weather, actually landing weather, well, emergency abort landing weather out in the Atlantic. They are not concerned about the Cape. NASA and SpaceX teams have to monitor areas where we said the crew might need to make an emergency landing. The Dragon will carry NASA astronauts Jessica Meyer and Jack Hathaway, along with the European astronaut and cosmonaut. They're going to spend about 8 months on the ISS. Their flight was moved up slightly after Crew 11 landed early due to a medical issue, we told you. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is monitoring the weather back here in Central Florida. We're in the middle of warm-up. Rain is somewhere headed our way. We just don't know exactly when.
It's going to be sometime Sunday into Monday. The timing going to mean everything for the Daytona 500, so combing over data for that as we move forward. Right now, it is nice and quiet. It is nice and mild in Daytona Beach. It's going to be the place to be this week, and the weather is gorgeous leading up to about halfway of the race. More on that in a second. 60 degrees right now. The breeze is light out of the west-southwest at about 5 miles an hour, give or take. Hanging around 50 in Wildwood, 59 degrees in DeLand, right around 60 in Daytona Beach again. Hour-by-hour forecast getting you into tomorrow. Much warmer start than where we've been, and it's going to be in the same ballpark as where we were today, back to the mid-70s. By 10 o'clock in the morning, we are at 67, mid-70s by 1 o'clock, 75 by 4, pretty much perfection if you're a fan of comfort. We do need the rain, and I think there's at least some coming over the next 7 days. 50 in the Villages when you wake up tomorrow morning. We're at 52 in the Mims, Titusville, Scottsmore. Good evening. We're back to the low 50s. 51 in New Smyrna Beach tomorrow. Highs then turn back to the mid to upper 70s again. We're at 74 in Melbourne. Wildwood, we're at 77. Rain chances again at 0%. A few passing clouds, very similar day to what we saw this afternoon, just a few notches above where we should be. Then we will fast forward to Friday. That's when this starts showing up on the radar picture as the system gets going across the southern plains and then skirts across the North Gulf Coast. There are two questions. How far south does this get and how fast does it move? There's 11 o'clock on Saturday evening. Saturday is looking dry and very, very warm. This is the European model. It is the faster of the model, and that wants to start to get rain in here by about the midway point of the Daytona 500. The American model is much slower. It gets the rain in here on Monday. It's also further south, which does give us a little more rain. Again, scattered showers. That would only be about 1/4 of an inch, give or take. In Central Florida, of course, it's not enough to bust a drop, but we will take what we can get. Again, that is the European rendition for the amount of rainfall coming with the highest, because that is the further northern track right now, closer towards Tennessee and Arkansas. 77 degrees on Thursday, no rain yet. As we get into Valentine's Day, it is going to be very nice, very warm, right around 80 degrees. And then there's that rain chance showing up Sunday and then bleeding into part of your Monday, Eric.
Thank you, sir. Major changes coming to a downtown Orlando road for the first time in decades.
This area is one way, so a lot of people get confused.
The construction you can expect to see and how it's going to make it easier to get around. That's next.
Magnolia Avenue will soon look like this. I'm Stephanie Rodriguez reporting from downtown Orlando. These images will be brought to life by the city as it begins its first project, a part of its downtown action plan, as they try to make the downtown area more vibrant and welcoming. Orlando is ushering in a new era for downtown.
We've been talking about this for a really long time. We started in 2014.
Commissioner Shan Rose tells me it's exciting to see the Downtown Action Plan, a research-based effort the city has been working on for over a decade, start to take shape.
This is our moment to show, we have an opportunity to start moving things forward and building a better downtown Orlando, and that's what we're doing.
And it begins with Magnolia Avenue. It's been a one-way since the 1950s in an effort to keep traffic moving. But now, ease of use and pedestrian-focused infrastructure is the priority.
Being able to be a walkable, bikeable city is what's been important to us. Being able to connect, being able to say I can walk down this street, it's well lit. Making sure that there's enough sidewalk space for all of us to walk and go in both directions.
Limo buses won't have a dedicated lane anymore, making room for two-way traffic to provide better connections. Sidewalks will be upgraded and more street parking will be added, giving potential customers better access to small businesses like Thai Cafe.
This area is one way, so a lot of people get confused.
Limited parking, small sidewalks, and an unclear one-way design makes it difficult for patrons to pop in. So the team here is excited for the improvements.
And then now they're going to be a road direct too.
Construction here on Magnolia Avenue will be done in 2 phases, and the first phase, which started on Tuesday, is set to take about 6 months. Reporting in Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Well, the cold is over, okay? We are warming up nicely, but we need some rain. That is in the 7-day forecast. We'll talk about that tonight at 11.
Back at 11. Hope you could join us then. If not, have a good night. Bye.